This guy. he knows the wave. What's going on, people? This guy's
Another day. Well, trying to find a better way.
What's going on, people? This is
Cut.
What's going on, people? I have to do it somewhere different because these men are mocking me now. Do people at home mock me, bro? Because we can rock. We can rock. I'm joking. I'm joking. I don't want to fight nobody. What's going on, people? This is Putsomesyruponthat. I am Nula Monroe.
Lynch.
And right now, we're going to ask each other questions. And we're going to answer those questions. We're just going to have a general discussion. You might notice the background is a bit different. It's a bit of an impromptu recording because we're
curtains for certain man, you get me?
It's curtains. We're having deeper conversations, so we just decided set the camera up and have these deeper conversations and reason in front of the camera. That's all. So, Vince, you had a question, or did you have anything?
What was the question that we had before? Oh yeah, it was my question, isn't it? Cool. Yeah. So, hypothetically speaking, this is just, don't beat me up, anybody out there. Let's just say you had a 16-year-old daughter, not good, and you found out she was sleeping with a numerous amount of men. What would you do?
See, this is my thing, yeah. I think the problem with that is I would need to know exactly what information I'm being told. I would need to know exactly what is being told to me. But I think I don't believe in imprisoning or overreacting and beating and them thing there for something like that, because we all sexually explore, innit? But I think for me, I would have to have a word with her and just make her try to understand like the consequences, because regardless how you view it, there's going to be consequences to your actions, innit? So the consequences that come along with it. What about you?
No, I was going to ask a follow-up question on that one. So if you had this conversation with her and she's just like, oh, whatever, dad, you're just talking nonsense. Like, how would you sort of handle that? Would you try to embed in her that this is wrong, don't do it, or just be like, I hear what you're doing, it's not great, but do your thing?
It's hard to say because obviously, I feel like in our society, as we know, we rate women a bit more harsher than we rate men, innit? Because, and that's a question I'm going to ask you, but we'll get into that after. We rate women harsher than we rate men. So I think it's difficult. I don't really want to be on a mad thing for sexual exploration, but in that same vein, I don't want you out there on a mad thing because we know there's a disrespect that comes with that. There are consequences to them behaviors. Do you get what I'm saying? Depending on how you're behaving. But I have to be honest, bro. When I was a teenager, I was moving mad.
I swear. How mad are we talking?
Not that mad. But I was moving mad enough that I understand, innit? But I think, obviously, there's differences between men and women, innit? So, as a man, there's a lot more chasing to be done. Whereas a woman has a lot more options, innit? So I think as the person that holds the power, there's a power that comes with that selection. I'm not saying that I want to hold you more accountable, but I just feel like your decision making has to take that into account. But I don't think I would go mad. I think if that's what she said, then that's what she says, isn't it?
Like, tell her to crack on. And
I wouldn't tell her to crack on. But I think with kids, especially now you're talking about a 16-year-old. A 16-year-old is a child, but a 16-year-old is also a big person. So you have to take their thoughts and feelings into account. And I feel like I would talk to her and just talk to her, innit? And she either takes what I say or she doesn't take what I say. I'm not going to be one of those parents because you can't control your children. And at the end of the day, you just instill what you instill into them, and then they're going to make the decisions that they wanted to make. Like my mum, I grew up, I was a good kid, blood. I still decided one time I wanted to just try to sell drugs, bro. Like, nothing my mum ever said to me or would ever say to man was going to stop me from trying to do that, blood. Like, and obviously, in hindsight, that was a big mistake in my life. Like, that was a period of my life where I was rebelling. I was having a wild moment. Like, I would never do that again. It was crazy. And it didn't go very well. And I've got a song out. Actually, no, that's not out anymore. But I have a song about it. And it's like, it was a crazy moment of my life. But there was nothing my mum could have said that was going to affect my decision to do that. And I know that now I have to be realistic and look at my daughter and say, there's nothing I'm going to say that's going to change. So I just have to give her insight and hope that she takes that insight and makes good decisions.
That's an interesting way to think about it.
What's your answer?
So my take on this whole situation is that obviously as children growing up, I preferred the teachings of, cool, do your thing within reason, make your mistakes, because if you don't make those mistakes, how are you sort of supposed to learn from them and be able to teach your kids in the future if you haven't made those mistakes? So I'm a sort of person like this, whereas if my daughter was in that situation, stress. But again, as you said, it's just sitting them down and have the conversation. So I'd have a conversation like this, like, okay, cool, I've heard what you've done. Like, explain to me your reasoning behind it. It's just like, oh yeah, Dad, I just wanted to explore this, that, and the other. Why does it want to explore? I'm a man like this because I'm a manager in the corporate world. I like to ask the 5 whys. So why did you want to try out sleeping with X, Y, Z? Oh, because everyone else is doing it. Why do you want to do it? Because everyone else is doing it. Oh, because I want to feel wanted. Why do you want to feel wanted? And then she starts to actually think, what am I actually doing? Like, is this the right way to behave? Like, and you get to the nitty gritty of it. So again, it's just having that conversation, being open and honest, and not having that judgment. Because I feel a lot of kids nowadays are scared to have that conversation with their parents because they're scared of judgment, and you're gonna just shout at me. You're gonna think X, Y, Z. So I'm not gonna tell you X, Y, Z. But I want to have that open relationship whereby, if you've got the issue, if you've got anything you're gonna say, speak to me. I'm gonna hold an open space. We have this conversation with there's no judgment, and we can get through this.
But have you had a conversation with a teenage girl before, fam? It's not the easiest thing in the world.
I've had conversations with teenagers.
I've had a conversation with a teenage girl before, bro, because they're not. It's not as simple as, oh, why? Well, the reason why is because like it's not like talking to one of your clients.
It's different if it's your daughter than it is a normal teenage girl.
Even more so, blood, because you're her dad, fam.
So,
and obviously, like you said, sorry, I'm gonna.
Right.
It depends what kind of relationship you have. And
yes,
you did say that, but you cannot force a relationship. And teenagers are difficult at the best of times, regardless what relationship you have. But go on.
Well, she can't hide from these hands, anyways.
Go. I'm joking. No, but let me ask you. Did you want to have something to say before I ask you?
No, that's very true.
Here's my next question, though. What would you do for your son, though? How would you react to that? Would you react the same or differently?
Oh, shit. I'm joking. No. I think we was touching on this a bit earlier. I think the way we view men and women in society is slightly different, where women we see as the nurturing type. We have to look after them because they house our kids. They do a lot more for, that sort of thing. Whereas guys are known to be able to, self-care, look after themselves. And in that sense, I would, as bad as it may seem, I would go into the fact that my son could look after himself as long as he knows not to just sleep with any Tom, Dick and Harry and get them pregnant and catch whatever, blah, blah, blah. Do your thing, explore. But as a woman, your body's a temple. You're seen as this primed piece of, what's the word I'm looking for? Just the person that houses 9 months worth of children, and you're seen as more of a value, if that makes sense. So you're more nurturing towards that person because you're a female and you need to be looked after, and that's something that's been embedded us from years back in society. So
can I ask you? Sorry, no, you carry on.
No, I was pretty much done.
Can I ask you a question though? Like when you say that, does that because society views women a certain way, does that make it right?
No, I think we should all be equal in that sense, but we can't help it.
So no, but cool. So would you buy into? So are you buying into that mentality because society is telling you to buy into that mentality, or do you genuinely believe that women have to hold themselves to a different standard because they're like the bearers of children and so on and so forth?
I think in a sense, women have more to lose because a guy could get a woman pregnant and duck out, and they have no sort of strings or anything attached to it. Whereas a woman, if she gets pregnant, bruv, she's stuck with that child for the rest of her life. Not say you're stuck with it because every child's a blessing, but you're stuck with a child for 9 months and you have to carry that child for the rest of its life. Whereas the man can just run away. So in that sense, that's why we have to look after our women, because in that sense, they got more, not more to lose, because even if you have a child is a blessing, but in the sense that I'm thinking of, they have more to lose because they have to carry a child.
Of course, I know people that have had children young and they've lost a lot. Like, we can't say that people don't lose.
Yeah.
But this is so now here's my question though. But this is my actual question, because I get where you're coming from. And yes, I would actually, I feel like you have to cater your conversation to your daughter different to your son. But my question is, your focus is on, okay, daughter, you've got a lot to lose, so don't behave in a certain way. But shouldn't that focus then be on the brother, on our sons, on our men? Shouldn't that focus then be brother, like women lose all of this. You need to behave and react a certain way, isn't it? Aren't we over catering to women when we should be catering more so to men and explaining to them how to behave?
100%. I agree with that. But growing up, I was just told to not just explore, but just to figure out what it is I want and to kind of somewhat not make my mistakes, but explore. See what it is you like, see what it is you don't like, and eventually you'll find the one, as they say. But to your point, it's true. We should put more onus on men as well, because once we raise men to a standard, then these women that are exploring with X, Y, and Z, there shouldn't be that much of an issue, because the guys should know what they're doing, the girls should know what they're doing, so there shouldn't be any issue there. There shouldn't be any cross ties or anything like that. So it's the onus on us as parents to bring up our sons and our daughters the right way, so that we don't have these issues and we have to have these conversations. But society now, we have no choice but to have these conversations.
I think it's a difficult, isn't it? It's a difficult mix and blend between like raising your children in a way that's fair and raising them in a way that's realistic to the society that we live in. And I think it, like, obviously I don't have children in it, so I don't know how difficult or easy that's going to be, but I think you have to take into account both of those, because society is going to treat your daughter a certain way, and you need to make your daughter aware of that, blood, because it would, you get what I'm saying? She can't go around living in ignorance. In that same vein, it's important to let your son know society is one way, but you don't have to be that guy. Because I don't know about you, but when I think back to growing up, blood, and I think back to things that was told to me by the elders and things that I seen the elders doing, like older family members or elders from that man's just hanging around with, like the lessons were terrible, bro. Like a man didn't, like my dad, like obviously I have a relationship with my dad, innit? But at the time it wasn't deep enough that he was teaching me anything. So there was no real, and my mum was just like, go to school, get your grades, like, and keeping a roof over my head, but she worked hard. So there was no positive messaging about how to behave with the opposite gender. And off the back of that, I made many mistakes that I regret, blood, because man got the terrible lessons, bro. So isn't it more important that we now teach our sons more so than our daughters? Like that, I don't know, innit? Like I don't know, but isn't that?
It's nuts, because like being a parent in this day and age is so much different to being a parent back then. You've got so many external factors. Like even if your child isn't in a gang or have bad friends, like they've got social media where they could get involved in any Tom, Dick, and Harry. Look at this person's lifestyle, be like, I want to be like this person. They're X, Y, Z. Like there's so much external factors now than there were back then, that you have to evolve as parents and individuals to be able to coach your children the right way through this new sort of thing that we're going through this social media phase, through this skinny people and skinny fit person is attractive, this, that, and that, fake moms, fake tits, all of that jazz is seen as perfect and idealized. So people are doing other things to make up for that. So we just have to, as people, just develop our teaching styles to compensate for what's going around. And it's difficult because obviously, as you said, you haven't had that teaching back when you were younger. So it's difficult for you to take on that teaching and then make it your own. You have to sort of start from scratch and build your own teaching. And again, even when you do find out what works for you, it might not necessarily work for anybody else. So it's all about everybody just tailoring how, they want their children to grow up, and based on the environment and the surroundings that they're in and around. So it's a tough one. It's difficult.
This is deep still. This is no banter. This is deep still. But really and truly, I think society is fucked personally, and I don't know if there's actually a recovery for us. Like, just based off the back of that, I don't want to go too deep into that, but how do you feel about that? Do you feel that there's a recovery for the way in which society views gender, race, ethnicity, beliefs, and all of these things, like controls from the top to the bottom? Do you feel like there's actually a answer to this, or
I don't think there is. I think even social media and society is still trying to figure it out to this day. Like what works, what sells, what's this, what's that. I think everybody's still trying to figure it out, because I was looking at something today actually, or the other day last week, whereas there was a what's it called, a magazine cover where it had like a big woman. Obviously, shout out to more big women. All of that. And it says something like, I am, and there's like 3 different big women saying that I am healthy, where that is just, it's a contradiction in the sense that it's creating that awareness that because you're big doesn't mean that, that obviously, it's to show awareness that being big isn't an issue. It's not a problem. But in the same breath, you're also saying that being big is healthy. So it's like a contradiction or a juxtaposition, or whatever you want to call it, that being big is healthy when it's not. You need to be realistic in what message you're trying to portray, but also in the same breath, being accepting of what people's sizes and this, that, and the other, and personalities and that is. So I think the people are still trying to figure it out, but they just don't know the right balance. Because no matter what you put out there, people are going to have an issue with what you put out there. Because when they put that, I was like, oh yeah, shout out my big women. But in the same breath, they're putting a big woman saying that it's healthy. And there's people that are saying, no, it's not. Being big is not healthy. Like, what kind of regime are you going through that you have to be that big and you're healthy? It doesn't make any sense, but...
I think it's
difficult.
The word there, the word there that is the right word is balance. Because I do think that we have to accept people in the shape and sizes that they come, because people come in all shapes and sizes.
Exactly.
And we don't want people to feel away. And because you're slim doesn't mean that you're healthy either.
Exactly.
And because you're super muscular doesn't mean that you're healthy either. So as much as you can say those things, you can turn around and say, but we cannot pretend that weight is healthy. Like at the same time, like, because realistically it's not, innit? But somebody who is bigger might be healthier than somebody who is slim. So the question is balance, isn't it? Like, it's about being realistic in yourself. But like I was saying about the women, yeah, and maybe I've got too much new age thinking, yeah, but with big people, a lot of the time there is a bias against big people. They are treated away. You're much more likely to get bullied or discriminated against or treated a certain way because you're big. You're much more likely to not get attention from the opposite gender. Or there's loads of factors that come with it from being big that you don't have to worry about being slim or being muscular. So we have to be careful in that we don't marginalize those people the same way that we marginalize women. Do you get where I'm coming from?
100%.
It's hard though.
Facts upon facts.
It's hard though.
But yeah, society's still trying to figure it out to this day.
So the moral of the story is society is fucked, right?
Yeah, it's a big ball of confusion. So all you need to do is focus on you, focus on what you want to achieve, focus on your goals, and just don't worry about what everyone else has to say and what everybody else thinks. As long as you're happy with the situation you're in, do you be, fight for it, do what you need to do. Like, don't focus on anybody else. Do you?
I think this is the first episode where we haven't just argued the whole way.
It wasn't just pouring syrup. It was all about everything else.
It was deep still, but I think you've made a great point there. Like, do you, like, don't worry about, because we're so, and I think with the new social media era, we're so worried about what other people are saying, what other people are thinking, so on and so forth. But just do you, man. Don't worry about what other people are doing. Like, there are people out there that are complaining about like stuff that is happening on social media, like, I don't know, that they don't fit the mold of the people on social media, or their friends are not supporting them enough because they don't share your bloody new clothing line in their story and all these things. But can we please remember, social media is not real. It's not real, blood. Exactly. Like, you don't know what's happening in people's lives, blood. Like, people that are happy on social media are sad in real life. People that are not promoting your thing on social media might be telling everybody that comes to their house about your thing. Like, let's be realistic, blood. Social media is not real, blood. And this is coming from somebody who's trying to do a social media thing. It's not real, bro. Like, everybody calm down. Like, if that's what's giving girls anxiety, young teenage girls anxiety, if you look at the stat, that is what's fucking people up. That's what's making people feel like they have to be murderers. Like, but it is not real. Calm down. That's my last point. That's actually the last thing I wanted to say.
That was your syrup on your waffle.
That was the syrup on the waffle still.
But yeah, like I said, you don't have to be wearing the designer clothes, this, that, and the other. Hats from River Island, tops from Primark. Man is still living life easy because I focus on me. You do you. That's it at the end of the day. As long as you're happy with what you're doing, boom. That's t-shirt, my blessing. Again. All of that. My guy. I don't watch face. I just do what I gotta do. Baby.
Yeah. If you couldn't tell, we've been sipping today. So if we seem a little bit different and off, then that's the reason why. But thank you for listening. Share, like, subscribe. You lot are legends. Everybody that has actually got to the end of this video, I love you dearly.
Shout
like,
out.
you lot are legends, because I don't even know who the hell's watching this thing. If you are, comment for me or let me know, because I would like to know. But outside of that, thank you very much. Share, like, subscribe. Come for the syrup. Stay for the waffle. This is Put Some Syrup on That. I am Nula Monroe.
Finch.
Peace.
Peace.